So just went through a run with this build on Ambessa, but let's go through her constellations and talk a bit about other potential builds for her. Ambessa is a combat-focused champion. She focuses a lot on attacking in and getting all your units buffs by doing that. Both her 2 and 3 star, or sorry, her 1 and 3 star. This is just an improvement of the 1 star, but the 3 star gives you, when allies attack, you get +1/+1. The 1 star just +1/+0. But if you can attack in multiple times, those allies will get even more buffs and will grow quicker. So getting things like Scout and such into your deck, really important for getting more attacks in. And if you can, abuse Scout or other features to cheat more attacks and potentially attack like 3 times in a turn, it really makes a difference in terms of how quickly your units grow. Her 2 star is also a great thing to build around, and we'll talk about this quite a bit with our different build options. But conscription, this round start, you get a conscription in your hand, and if you already have one, it reduces the cost by 1. This allows you to duplicate a unit, and this synergizes really well with her 1 or 3 star to scale those units when you have more copies of it on the board and you attack with them. If you attack with 3 copies of the same unit, you're getting +3/+3 for each attack rather than +1/+1. So it can make a huge difference having more of the same unit on the board, which is really what you're looking for. Her 4 star is also extremely powerful. This will allow you to, when you're targeting stuff with conscription, you'll get the barrier on both the unit that you're targeting with conscription as well as the unit that is produced. So you can use this both defensively and offensively to make sure that you can attack in or block without risking your units dying, and you can keep those buffed up units on the board. Her 6 star I don't really think is necessary, but this just makes it so when you attack with 10+ total power, it automatically kills the strongest back row enemy. So I don't have any plans to pick this up anytime soon unless I run out of, Nova Crystal, or I have so many Nova Crystals for Noxus that I don't know what else to do with them. But she's able to complete everything, all the 6.5 star, everything with just, up to 5 stars pretty easily. Even I've done a lot, I've done like the 5 and 6 star with just 2 star versions of her. So really strong just as a base level. She does have some good bonus stars. The main one that's really good is your support champions have this Hunter's Machete, so that gives them Scout, so really good to get that. And this Star of Wonder getting Conscription Mana Potion, that is also extremely good. That way it starts at 3 cost rather than 4 cost, and you can just play it based off spell mana without having to use any of your regular mana, so highly recommend picking up that as well. Let's go to the different sort of builds we can do with her. You can do a more combat-based build where you're focusing around building Ambessa, where here this is mostly that. I did sort of a hybrid here where I'm some focus on spells, some focus on combat. This Searing Brilliance is actually for more of a combat focus, in that one of the spells in her deck is this Public Execution, which gives you an extra rally. And so getting reduced cost and more copies of this in your deck, so it's only 3 cost, gets you more rallies easier. You can attack in and close out more games quicker. So yeah, that's the main reason that the Searing Brilliance is in here. But there's better ways, or not necessarily better, but alternative ways to focus on her spells. I would say that using, like a... we have all the Archangels. Archangel Staff, great way to get enough mana to be able to cast your spells. That way you can, even if they are a bit more expensive, so they're not reduced by Searing Brilliance, you can cast them with having spell mana. This is also, really good for Conscription, especially if your Conscription's 3 cost. You can just cast it right away with this. So really strong to be able to do that. Death's Foil, this one is just to make sure she's safe when she's attacking in. When I'm running her on my free-to-play account, I substitute this out because I don't have Death's Foil on that account. So then I just use the green relic that gives you quick attack. So that is the Storm Razor here. That can also work. Just make sure you're attacking in and challenging units that have less health than she has attack power. That way she won't take any damage. Alternatively, you can try to target her with a spell or something like that if you have her 4-star to give her barrier and then attack in with her. That way she stays safe. So there are other things you can do with that as well. Her champion spell, by the way, is this rally spell. So as you saw in her deck from leveling up and whatnot, this gets reduced to 4 cost. So you can also consistently get this out here if you're using like the Grand General's counterplan. Oops, I'm using only comments here. Grand General's counterplan. So you can consistently get that in your hand this way. You can also use like Echoing Spirit, and then it'll be cheaper. So you can have more copies of her once you have her on the board. All the copies of this will only cost 3, so that's another way besides Searing Brilliance to get this to be cheaper. And you can just have more copies of Ambessa. That way, if even she gets removed, you're able to replace her pretty easily. Overwhelm is really nice to have just because you're, attacking in and you're doing a lot with the board in that way. There are other forms of Overwhelm that can work for you. Champion's Purse, if you want to, when you're dragging in units and killing them, if you want to get coins, you can potentially use that to refill mana and, cast another rally. That can actually be decent with her. You can use Chosen by the Stars. This doesn't have that much synergy with her, but it is a form of Overwhelm. You can also scale her quicker with, created cards. Getting this Augment, you are getting her... The Conscription is a created card, so you're getting buffs from that. If you also target her with things to give her invulnerable, and having the regeneration is also nice. She already has Challenger, so yeah, this can be okay. I've used this quite a few times on her. Decent way to go through with that. Cruel Experiments, also a way to get Overwhelm. This will make your board more damaged, but you do scale up every time you attack in, so it's less of a concern that 1 damage. You're able to do that. We already talked about Death's Foil. That's just to keep her safe, similar to the Storm Razor. Giving her Fury can be okay. She's not automatically a dragon, though, so she won't get Overwhelm here. It is better, in my opinion, to give her a form of Overwhelm. You are attacking in a lot, so things like Fear Cleaving Axe as well as Living Weapon are good on her. These are good options. I think if you are doing this, you should find another form of Overwhelm. Beast Within or Troll King's Crown, something like that to give Overwhelm to your board or at least to her. So yeah, I think that's worthwhile, but it's not necessary. If you just want to control the board, you don't need to do anything like that. You can use Frozen Tomb if you want to guarantee that you get her out, but I think personally that Echoing Spirit's a better choice than Frozen Tomb on her, just because you'll get that reduction of the champion spell, which is really nice. Other ways to get spell mana, Hidden Tome as well as Lost Chapter, always a good way to get spell mana. She has lots of really good spells, so I think this is always a good idea to have some way to get her spell mana, or you can just rely on the mana that's at the start of the turn, but that'll have less tempo generally. So let's continue to go through here. There's not too much from the epic side here. I think most of these are... You can try to trigger Starforged Gauntlets if you want to try to get her out on turn 1. If you are doing this, then I would use something like Champion's Purse plus Death's Foil. So this gets you to 8 attack. That'll trigger Starforged. Then if you have her 5-star for the extra mana gem, this means you'll start with 4 mana gems, and you can start, attacking in with her and leveling right away. Getting those multiple attacks in and beefing her up. So I would say this is a strong option for if you want to use Starforged Gauntlets. Beyond that, on the, I think, more rare relic side, we already said Archangel's Staff. Of course, other caster stuff is great on her. Chemtech Duplicator, really strong for getting more casts of especially that conscription. So rather than getting 2 copies of a unit, you get 3 copies of a unit. Also works great for her rally. So highly recommend doing something like this. Let's see. This can be okay with her. I wouldn't particularly say it's strong, but if you are targeting her with things, you can give her barrier. She'll survive, get more stat buffs from this. If you're using something like the cruel experiments that we were looking at earlier, this, will automatically give her a buff when you're dropping her. So this can be a reasonable combination. That's, again, more combat focused rather than spell focused. Let's see. I wouldn't particularly recommend. It's really good to get Scout on her, but I wouldn't put this on her in that it'll shuffle her back into the deck. You could do it with like Echoing Spirit or something, but she's a higher cost champion. I wouldn't recommend this particularly. But it is an option. It's probably not horrible, but also not great at the same time. We already talked about the Grand General's counter plan. Again, her spell gets you rallies, really good for her. Highly recommend that. Troll King's Crown, great way to get Overwhelm. None of these other ones have particular build-arounds. On the green relic side, of course, Spell Shield, really good to help protect her from removal, things like that. Ginsu's Rageblade, good for just you're attacking in already, getting +1/+1, so this will give you +2/+2 every time you attack in. This is, again, similar to like the Living Weapon and the Fear Cleaving Axe that we touched on earlier. Stormrazor, I think, is, a really good item on her if you don't have Death's Foil. This is a great option. So that's most of it. I think focusing around either combat for her and just beefing her up a lot, or the spells in order to make it so you get more conscriptions and being able to cast those, or her champion spell as much as possible will be really strong for you. So hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you have any questions or other champions you want to see, and we'll catch you in the next one.